Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and I have the new Vinegar Syndrome package for July. So I'm going to talk about the Vinegar Syndrome releases. I haven't had a chance to check these out yet. I'm just going to show you. This is more a show and tell kind of video than reviews. My apologies in advance. But I've just gotten them today, and I just want to kind of make people aware of them. I did get to check out. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do some of the, the partner labels first, and then we will go into the Vinegar Syndrome releases. Okay. So one thing I did get to check out, and I do talk about a lot on this channel, is Fun City Editions. Oh, there's the label right there, FCE. Truth be told, and I've said it before, my friend Jonathan Hertzberg runs Fun City Editions, so some may find that a conflict of interest, but regardless, if I wasn't, friends with him, I would still love what he is doing, and this new release from him, is yet another banger, yet another fantastic Blu-ray release of just a really wonderful film that is kind of an all-timer for me, and this disc is definitely, I can tell already, going to be a contender for favorite disc of the year, and so Fun City has a couple slots there. I think Smile is a pretty great release. I think Jeremy is fantastic. But this is some good stuff here. Okay, so here's our slipcover. Very nice slipcover, embossed and everything. See that? And then here is the flipped artwork. This is from one of the original one sheets for the movie. And this movie, it's from 1975. It is directed by Frank Perry, who I'm a huge fan of. Frank Perry did films like David and Lisa, The Swimmer, Last Summer, Mommy Dearest. He was just a really interesting filmmaker. Play It As It Lays, that's another favorite of mine. Another movie that could really use a Blu-ray release, along with Last Summer. Both of those are kind of MIA on home video at this time. But this had gotten a DVD release, but had been, missing from Blu-ray all these years, and it's really a cult favorite, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's one of the few comedies that Frank Perry made, and it just has an incredible cast led by Jeff Bridges and Sam Waterston as two kind of slacker cowboy types living in Montana. And they sort of get by getting by, and one of the beginning scenes is them rustling cattle, in 1975 ostensibly, where they drive their pickup truck out onto this ranch land and they kill a cow and cut it up with a chainsaw, and then proceed to use the cow to help pay their rent. So that gives you a sense of who these guys are and where they're coming from. But it's a real hangout movie. It's got a very leisurely pace, and I've always been a fan of it. It's just very quirky and strange because the idea is that the man who owns the ranch, played by incredible and always a just gem of a character actor, Clifton James. So he owns the ranch and he wants this dealt with. And so he talks to his wife and they figure out a plan. They're going to hire a stock detective to come out. And the stock detective is played by Slim Pickens. And his ranch hands are played by Harry Dean Stanton. And I'm going to forget the other guy. But Harry Dean is great in this movie. So it's just sort of a, like I said, a low-key comedy about rustling and trying to figure out who the rustlers are, and just filled with like great little dialogue exchanges, including an incredible scene where Harry Dean Stanton and Jeff Bridges just play Pong, and we see them reflected in the Pong screen. I'm talking about old school, arcade game Pong in 1975, and it's just amazing. I just love this movie so much. So I was so excited when Jonathan announced it, and now holding it in my hand and having checked it out, it's just a killer release. So let's talk about it here. Okay, so you got your features on the back. New 2K restoration from its 35mm inner positive. That is part of the mission statement of Fun City Editions, is to always bring new scans of the movies that he's bringing out. And this looks better than it's ever looked. And I couldn't be happier with the transfer. I think it looks great. And then really fantastic, there's a very significant movie, a new video interview with actor Jeff Bridges. It's about 20 minutes long, and it's a joy to watch, of course. Jeff Bridges is one of my favorite actors. I love to hear him talk about his films, especially his 70s work, because I don't feel like he talks about that as much these days anyway. And it's a nice little treat, too, because it's a Zoom call, yes, but you get to see my friend Jonathan Hertzberg on camera talking to Jeff Bridges, and I just got a real kick out of that. It's just great to see him interacting and talking to him about, Bridges is talking about one of his big significant memories of the film is that he met his wife while they were shooting the movie in that town. And he has a great story about getting shot down for a date the first time he asked her out. And, he has stories about, wanting to work with Frank Perry after having seen David and Lisa, and on and on. I'm not going to give away everything in the interview. It's a really great interview. And I'm so glad that Jeff Bridges is a part of this release. It's clearly a movie that means a lot to him. And I just love, like I said, I love him anyway, but seeing him in this interview just made me think he's even better than I did before. He's just so great in it. And then with that, we have an interview with, it's called Like Playing Jazz, a new video interview with screenwriter Thomas McGuane, who wrote and directed a movie called 92 in the Shade. And that's a really interesting, quirky film. It's similarly quirky in some ways, about skiff drivers, guys who rent boats for fishing and tours in Florida. I want to say it's the Florida Keys. I haven't seen it in a while. That's a movie that needs a Blu-ray too. So I would love to see that. But anyway, McGuane is great. It's about a 10-minute conversation. He has a great anecdote about, working with producer Elliot Kastner, who produced this film, and how 92 in the Shade was taking a minute to get off the ground, and he asked him if he had anything else, and he lied and said he did, and he went and wrote Rancho Deluxe in a couple weeks, and that makes me love the movie even more. But yeah, a really great interview with a great author, and just a cult icon in some ways for me. Then we have a booklet essay with film historian Gavin Smith. So we have a nice little essay in here. Always nice for collectors. We do love our essays and our booklets. And then on top of that, it's almost like this release was made for me. You get an audio commentary, a new commentary with film critic and film historian Nick Pinkerton, who I have talked about on the channel, but probably not enough for how much I like him and his commentaries. He's got a very dry wit about him, very well-spoken, very intelligent, and one of my favorite folks that does commentaries. I've talked about Kim Newman, I've talked about Sam Deegan, I've talked about Kat Ellinger, but Nick Pinkerton is in the conversation with those guys. Like, he is a heavy hitter for me, and listening to this track, he just knocked it out of the park. Another wonderful commentary track. So all in all, again, a short-listed for my favorite discs of the year movie, and Fun City continues to just kill it, So definitely get you some Rancho Deluxe. Great cult movie, well worth picking up. So that's number one. Now, this is interesting. Deadlock. So that's our slip. And this is the inside here. Now, this is a cool one. This is from a new sort of partner label called Subculture Entertainment, and they are a German company and a German-based video company, and they're devoted to restoring and re-releasing genre cinema in the best possible editions, which this is definitely one of them. And they have already released things like Switchblade Sisters, which is sort of long out of print now. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get it through Vinegar Syndrome or anything, but and Switchblade Sisters has come out since from Arrow, but there are some things on the Subculture Blu-ray that you can't get on the Arrow Blu-ray, and it was a really great release of Switchblade Sisters. It wasn't 4K, but I do love that they come out of the gate guns blazing with this, and it's a 4K release. So you can see UHD, and then you've got your Blu-ray in there as well, and you have some alternate artwork in there. But so this one I'm not familiar with, but I had to get it because it was a 4K and because Subculture had already sort of proved themselves to me. And this one apparently is, the description on the site says a young bank robber kid staggers exhausted across an inhospitable screen in the middle of a blazing furnace of a desert. All he has is a filthy suit, a machine gun, a suitcase full of money, and a bullet stuck in his arm. Due to the loss of blood, he collapses unconscious in the scorching wasteland, and that's how former warden Charles Dump, a greedy, devious coward who senses every big opportunity, finds him. Instead of removing the bullet, he speculates that kid will die in agony from the gangrene, and a murderous game of cat and mouse ensues between the two opponents. But the tide turns for the worse when a short time later the sadistic killer Mr. Sunshine appears on the scene, who has arranged with Kid to hand over the money, and Sunshine has no intention of sharing the loot. So I love that setup. I love the idea of, characters in a remote place, isolated. I always think of The Thing. That's my favorite movie, so I always think I love the isolation of that and the sense of claustrophobia, even when you're in a completely open outdoor place and you can run away. There's still a sense of you can't get away, kind of. But I just like this setup where you have two characters and one is clearly going to take advantage of the other, and then a third character enters. I love the change in power dynamics and that kind of a story. And so this has Mario Adorf, Makwaro Bohm, and Anthony Dawson. And Mario Adorf, a really great Italian actor. He's in a great movie called The Italian Connection that was directed by Fernando De Leo that has maybe arguably one of the greatest chase scenes of all time, and Adorf is in it. And it starts as a car chase and turns into a foot chase, and it's just like nothing you've ever seen. And I wish somebody would try and do it, but you really can't, because it includes like him getting hit by a car and headbutting the windshield. Anyway, Adorf is great. So I'm very excited to check this one out. This is, like I said, a really great announcement, kind of like here we are kind of release from Subculture in terms of what it is and the fact that they did it in 4K. So this includes an audio commentary with director Roland Klick and Ulrich von Berg. Has something called Truth and Sensuality, an interview with Roland Klick. Movie as Adventure, an interview with Roland Klick. So multiple interviews with him. Portrait Roland Klick. German ending with Dedication. English opening and insert. These are MOS without sound. And then it has some different versions of the opening, apparently. And it has an audio commentary with director Roland Klick and Ulrich von Berg. I already mentioned that. Sorry, that's on the Blu-ray as well. The features I just read were off the Blu-ray. The UHD copy only has the commentary, so you'll have to go to the Blu-ray for some of those features I mentioned. But as I said, excited to check this one out. Excited that Subculture is now part of Vinegar Syndrome, and I can't wait to see what they do next, because they, like I said, have a solid history. Okay, so next up we have one from Utopia, who I am definitely digging what they're doing as well. And this film is a new film, as Utopia is wont to do. They do release new films, as well as I think they released something older. I can't remember if everything they've done is new so far, but this is brand new. Like, this just came out in 2021. It's called Golden Arm, and I have not seen the entire film. I will say, in all honesty, completely truthfully, I rented this based on a recommendation a while back, and it didn't totally work for me at the time, but that does not mean that I don't recommend it, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't check it out, because I think it's the kind of, again, cult item that will really connect with some people, and clearly has. But so this is a story of like two women. This one girl, she's a baker. Her name's Melanie, and she has like this small, bakery, and it's kind of on the ropes. And she has a friend named Danny, who is a truck driver, I think, and is also big into arm wrestling. And Danny gets hurt. She's about to do this big tournament, the Women's Arm Wrestling Championship. And Danny gets hurt, and she sort of ropes Melanie into taking her place to try and win this tournament. And the Danny character, I think, will be very funny to some folks. Didn't totally work for me personally, just my vibe. But I think this character in this movie will, like I said, appeal to a lot of people. And I think Utopia, again, is another label that people should start trusting, because they're really taking care in what they're putting out and the kinds of films that they're selecting. So this one, again, a new film. This is including a filmmaker commentary, a Q&A with the director and the cast, deleted and extended scenes. Oh, shoot, that reminds me. I forgot to say, Rancho Deluxe also includes, let's see, I think 2 new TV scenes and 2 alternate TV scenes, including one with Joe Spinell, who has got a part in the movie. And anyway, I should have said that. That was another, cherry on top of an already great release. But so this has deleted and extended scenes. It has a scene workshop, original audition footage, and director's lookbook with commentary, which I think is a really valuable thing to put on a disc like this, because it gives people a sense of like what a lookbook is. Maybe you don't know, because it is something that a director can make to take to people, financiers or whoever, to kind of show the vision of the film that they want to make. And so I think it's neat to have it in here with a commentary. This being a lower budget film, I think that could be very helpful to some young filmmakers. So anyway, excited to watch this again and give it another shot. But I do appreciate that it is a Utopia release, and they've been doing good work. Okay, so now we can get into the actual Vinegar Syndrome releases. So we'll start with The Lamp. It's a really beautiful slipcover, I gotta say. I'm a big fan of that. And I've switched the artwork out because the movie also goes by this title. And if this looks slightly familiar, you may recognize it because Scream Factory released it as a double with another movie. I think The Godsend, if I'm remembering right. But clearly this is going to be the definitive edition, because it's Vinegar Syndrome, and we know how they treat their materials. This is newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm inner positive, so it's definitely going to look better than the Scream Factory Blu-ray if you have that. So this one, I feel like I saw this on VHS years ago, and I just don't remember much about it. So it's going to be something of a discovery when I watch this Blu-ray. And the website says, after a group of thieves decide to ransack the home of a strange old gypsy woman, murdering her in the process, The unwittingly free a vengeful genie named Jinn, who has been held captive for centuries in an ancient oil lamp. Soon after, the lamp is acquired by a local museum, but as Alex Wallace, daughter of the museum's curator, decides to sneak a group of her friends into the museum after hours for a night of partying, sounds like Chopping Mall or something, she doesn't realize that Jinn is looking for a new keeper and that Alex is the perfect vessel to carry out the genie's diabolical actions. Primed with an assortment of gruesome deaths and a very dark sense of humor, Tom Daly's The Lamp, a.k.a. The Outing, a Texas Lens mid-'80s supernatural horror gem. Starring Deborah Winters, James Houston, and featuring the voice of cult actor Jackson Bostwick, TV's Shazam, apparently. As the voice of the murderous genie, Jinn, Vinegar Syndrome is delighted to resurrect The Lamp on Blu-ray, featuring a brand new 2K restoration of a Never-On Video 92-minute cut and an extended making-of documentary featuring new interviews with its cast and crew, thus finally allowing the incredible story of its production to be told. So this one has, as it says, something called All in the Family Taking an Outing in the Lamp. And that's the extended making-of documentary with writer-producer Warren Chaney, executive producer Fred T. Kunert, along with actors Deborah Winters, Andra St. Ivani, Andre Chimeni, Hank Amigo, Michelle Watkins, and Barry Coffing. So you're really getting the whole cast and crew to talk about this film. And I do like when Vinegar Syndrome does that. They're really giving sort of a new life to this film by allowing the actors and filmmakers to tell the story behind it. So I'm excited to check that out. And there's a commentary track with writer-producer Warren Chaney, actress Deborah Winters, and actor Barry Coffing, moderated by Zach Carlson, who I'm a big fan of. So that is The Lamp. And that's the first one from this month's offerings from Vinegar Syndrome. Now we're getting into territory of stuff I've never even heard of. So this here is Killer's Delight. And that's the slip cover. And Killer's Delight has, that's some pretty gnarly artwork, but definitely eye-catching. It has multiple artworks in this case. It also has this one, the Sport Killer, as the third alternate artwork for this release. And so this one, again, I've never even heard of it, but in Vinegar Syndrome we trust, right? So I was happy to try and check it out based on their, again, track record. And this one is talking about an unknown killer that's been stalking Northern California, picking up innocent young women in his van and then brutally torturing and murdering them, leaving their mutilated bodies in the nearby woods. St. Vince DiCarlo has been assigned, or sorry, Sergeant Vince DiCarlo has been assigned to the case, but finds himself with almost nothing to go on. That is until the murderer begins picking off teenage girls who frequent a local public pool. With the aid of psychologist Carol Thompson, DiCarlo begins to devise a plan to lure the killer into the open. And it says, more than slightly inspired by the then hot case of a notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, Jeremy Honak's Killer's Delight, originally shot as The Sport Killer and later re-released as The Dark Ride, is an intriguing mix of proto-slasher and detective drama, which stars prolific TV actors James Louisi from The Rockford Files, along with Golden Globe nominee Susan Sullivan from Falcon Crest, and John Carlin from Dark Shadows, and genre film character actor George Buck Flower, who we all know and love. And it is newly restored in 4K from its original 35mm camera negative. This is from 1978. So I like the proto-slasher vibe. You know, I'm into that. And this one sounds a little gnarly, but I'm definitely curious about any film that is drawing on the Bundy case. And I'm curious, like, where and how this film is influenced by that situation. And so you have a commentary track with director Jeremy Honak, So I'm curious. I'm imagining there'll be some mention of the Bundy thing, maybe not. There's a new interview with director Jeremy Honak, and a new interview with writer Marilyn Toma, new interview with cinematographer Arthur R. Botham, and a new interview with actor Martin Spear, as well as outtake scenes and an original TV spot, which I actually kind of like seeing TV spots. That's something that's much harder to find online these days, and it's always curious to me how films are marketed on television, especially in the late 70s. Okay, so last but not least, Through the Fire. And this has a really interesting, it's not beat up, it's meant to look this way, worn slipcase. I'm curious how many people will try and return this slipcase because they think it's a mistake. But I love that weathered look. It's very nice, and some things never rest in peace. Okay, so this, I flipped the artwork here. The Gates of Hell Part 2 Dead Awakening is the alternate artwork here. And that is interesting because one of the features on here is, it says alternate The Gates of Hell Part 2 Dead Awakening, sourced from video, featuring a group commentary track with Gary Markham, co-writer, associate producer Brad Potter, and editor Jay Helton, again moderated by Zach Carlson, who I think is a great moderator for this kind of thing. So I'm not sure if that's like an alternate cut. It sounds like it is. But anyway, so that's the alternate artwork. And this one, again, a film I wasn't aware of. I vaguely may have heard the title Through the Fire. That sounds vaguely familiar to me. But I definitely hadn't seen it. And apparently it is involving a strange-looking amulet that is discovered by a young woman who then mysteriously vanishes, and her sister finds the police not really being helpful and turns to a rogue officer named Nick, who senses that something evil is afoot. However, the strange disappearance is only the beginning of a horrifying nightmare, as a satanic sect which worships the god Moloch and are determined to do anything in their power to retrieve the ancient amulet as a means of bringing their unholy master to life and ushering in hell on earth. Very ambitious group. It's up to Nick and Tamara to face off against not only the murderous cult, but their monstrous deity. So this sounds like it goes one further than Killer's Delight, in that we have some supernatural monster stuff happening here. A low-budget, high-ambition, Texas-shot satanic thriller, Gary Markham's Through the Fire, which was released on VHS under the wildly misleading title of The Gates of Hell Part 2, blends lo-fi special effects with grimy southern regional flavor, starring Tom Campitelli and prolific character actor John S. Davies. Vinegar Syndrome's bringing this uniquely southern fried piece of 80s horror to Blu-ray, newly restored in 2K from its original 35mm internegative. So this one is from 1988, and Killer's Delight, if I didn't mention it, was from 1978. I did mention that. And so this has a commentary track with co-writer-director Gary Markham. It has Lighting the Spark, an interview with co-director Gary Markham and co-writer associate producer Brad Potter. Something called A Labor of Love, an interview with special makeup effects artist Gregor Punschatz, and alternate feature-length version. So there you go. It's an alternate feature-length version, The Gates of Hell Part 2 Dead Awakening, which is, as I said, sourced from video. And the commentary track on that is with Gary Markham, co-writer, associate producer Brad Potter, editor Jay Helton, and that is moderated by Zach Carlson. So you get two commentaries, two versions of the film. You also get behind-the-scenes special effects footage. So this is maybe the one I'm most anticipating checking out. It sounds kind of fascinating to me, and I do like regional horror, although it sounds like there's a lot of regional action happening in this group. But that said, yeah, this seems intriguing to me, and that cover definitely gets my attention. So, exciting always to get a new package from Vinegar Syndrome, because a lot of times I'm discovering new films, and I'm sort of, as a lot of people are, letting them show me the way, show me something interesting, show me something I've never heard of, and show it to me in the best possible version. It's newly scanned in 2K or 4K from the inner positive or the 35 millimeter original negative or whatever. They do it right, and they have since the beginning. So this is an exciting group, and I urge you to go to vinegarsyndrome.com to check out what they have coming up. I think the day after I post this video, they will announce their August titles, and so definitely go and check those out, but also check out the partner labels. Just in general, check out, Fun City Editions, Utopia, Subculture, Gunpowder and Sky. There's a bunch of partner labels now to be checked out, and I highly recommend you click on the partner labels tab at Vinegar Syndrome and just have a look around and see what you could be getting from those guys as well. So anyway, another great package, and hopefully some interesting titles here for you guys to check out, or at least be made aware of. And I thank you for watching, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.